Cool. That's what I love about YouTube, Google Hangouts, is that it puts it right to YouTube immediately.
Yeah, it does.
It's so easy. Yay. What's up? We'll get up close and personal. There we go.
Let's see here. What's like this?
Sweet.
Okay.
Yay. The light?
Yeah.
I think it's good with it off.
Okay. Did you talk to Sean last night?
First, I didn't. I texted him, but
Okay, he didn't respond.
he said okay that I was meeting you. So
Oh, okay.
we'll connect after.
Okay.
Does that sound good? Cool. Yeah. All right. Can you hear the music through yours? Go from this one. Send it. You got it?
But it doesn't fit in the hole.
It doesn't. It fits in, I think, this. So this one's mine. So is there another one like this? Yeah. Can you hear music?
Yeah.
Sweet.
I can hear the music.
Yeah, as long as you can hear the music.
These new mics?
They are. And the little black thing's new too, so that's why I'm like, since you were here, I think last time at least. I'll be watching you. On Google Plus, they don't hear the music, so it's just silent on there. You know?
Yeah.
Which is all good. Slowly and hold my breath. Let's sit quietly, politely. Gotta have a choice. We passed the breaking point. Nothing fell for not everything. Whoop whoop! Welcome to What Would Faith Do here on VelocityRadio.fm. This is your host, Faith Young, and I'm here with one of my favorite peeps, Ira Carroll. What's up?
What up, Faith? And everybody in the world.
So cool. It's so awesome. And like, you know, that's my total theme song, right? Roar. I love it. It goes hand in hand with what we're going to talk about today, right?
Yeah.
Totally. And I got to go to Katy Perry a couple nights ago.
Oh, you
so
did?
It was
Where did you play?
sick at Pepsi Center.
Oh my God.
It was a sold out concert.
Yeah.
And the day of the event, I got the tickets for half price.
That's better
People
than
are like, how did you do that?
because you're Faith Young
Yeah.
up in here.
Exactly. It was sweet. I got the tickets. They were normally $350. I got it for $145.
Awesome.
And I was like, it was like, you know, bid or buy. Have you ever heard of flash seats?
Nope.
Me either. My girlfriend Wendy told me about it. And at a sold out event, you check on there, and sometimes people go on and sell their tickets.
Cool. Flash events.
Flash seats.
Flash seats. Got it.
Yep.
Cool.
So it was just sick. And the concert, I mean, I was literally like 10 feet from the stage. It was so awesome. And man, can she entertain.
I bet.
And she's so incredibly talented.
Is she? Yeah.
Yeah. I
Cool.
mean, you know, how many songs? I mean, I can't even name all the songs, how popular she is.
Mhm.
And she was talking about one of the coolest things. She's like, so who's following me on Twitter? You know, and there's 13,000 people there, you know,
Yeah.
screaming for her. She's like, but who's messaged me, right? And she's like, those messages mean something to me. She's like, those make me continue to get up and do what I do. It was so sweet.
Cool.
It was so cool. You know, I love her. I love her so much, and I love the song Roar because it talks about, people who are putting you down and tell you not to share who you are, not to be your authentic self, and instead, like, damn right, you're gonna hear me roar.
Yeah. I mean, we're alive. We might as well shine bright and
We're
let
meant
the
to
world
shine.
hear us.
We were meant to shine bright.
Yeah.
That's the whole thing, right? But somewhere along the way, I think people's light got burned out, right? And it just needs relit.
Exactly. So people like you who are out shining are such an invitation for other people to say, hey, look, she's shining, and I know her. I can shine too.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And that's totally my intention, is to be that authentic example.
Mm-hmm. And you are, sister.
Thank you. Likewise.
Thank you.
Likewise. Yeah, so I'm so excited to have you back on the show.
Yeah, excited to be here.
Yeah.
I always love playing with you.
Yeah, it's so fun. We had your first show that we did on my radio show was my most shared show.
Oh, it was at the beginning of this year, right?
Yeah.
Yep, I remember that.
That was awesome. I mean, you just have a big influence. So people, share your stuff, like your stuff, listen to it. You have a bunch of followers, and so it was one of my best shared shows. Yeah.
Cool. Well, we dance well together.
Absolutely.
Mhm.
Absolutely. And I can't wait to see your clout score.
Yeah, me either.
We were
Come on,
just-
look it up right now.
Right, exactly. Literally, my friend Brian, we were at dinner the other night, and I was telling him how stoked I was to find out my clout score was 69. And
My favorite number.
exactly. How does it get better than that? Right? And he's like, really? He's like, well, I'm sure yours is huge, but I'll try mine anyways. And he did. He logged in right then on his iPhone or on his smartphone, and pulled his up, and I was shocked to see his was only 45.
Oh, damn.
Because he has a huge influence. So people who are listening, our clout score is your influence on social media.
Mm.
So original context is one way to really bring that up, and people who are sharing, liking, or talking about you, and the interaction. So it's so cool. And all I did was log in through Facebook. I haven't even connected with my other social media links, but it's so cool to me because Facebook, when I signed up 2006, I was like, shut up. I get to publicly compliment or give shout outs to my peers in front of their peers for free.
Mm.
Like, how does it get better than this?
Yeah.
It just fed my soul right from the gate. So when I got to see my clout score, I was excited to see that it's so high. I guess it's my friend Angela, Angela,
Yep.
she said, she's a social media guru, and she said anything above 63 is in the top 5% of all influencers online
Rockin'.
on social media.
Yeah, I'll have to look mine up during the show, so we'll report back to you. before the
Exactly.
show's
Let's
over.
do it. Let's do it. So it's so exciting, and because you have that connection, right? You already have that, those fans, those people who believe in you,
Yeah.
which helps the ride. For
Totally. I mean, gosh, without people supporting and loving up on me, even through the thicks and the thins, it means everything to me, because I think that our audience can be such a beautiful reflection of who we're being. And if we have people who are just like loving us and supporting us and sharing our work, it's like, hey, thank you for the reflection of doing something good here. So keep going.
Absolutely. I call them whispers from the divine, right? Because God knows we get enough reminders when we're off track.
Yeah, totally. That's sometimes really painful.
Right? Like one of my friends says something, wait for a 2x4. I'm like, careful what you wish for.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? To hit you in the head kind of thing. So the thing is like, no matter how popular you are, no matter how many or how big of a fan base you have, at the end of the day, we're still human,
Mm-hmm.
right? And those reminders just can help us continue
Mm-hmm.
to on our path
Yeah.
and to share our message.
Because, I mean, when you wrote your book, we were just talking before the show, when you wrote your book, how much, like, not necessarily hate mail, but judgment did you get from people who were in your circle that, tried to stop you in some way, shape, or form? What was that like for you?
Oh, it was insane. Literally, I did an entire year of work around judgment.
Yeah.
I didn't realize writing a book would bring up so much people's stuff.
Yeah.
Like, it's insane. Like, my girlfriend is writing a book right now, and she reached out to me and said, hey, Faith, someone gave me some negative stuff about writing my book, and that I should do this and this. And I said, hey, girl, how cool is that?
Yeah.
I was like, what I do know is when you go to write a book, you're doing the one thing that not everyone can do.
Right, exactly.
And it brings up their own fears, their own judgment. They're like, why do you get to write a book and I don't? Right? And my whole thing is, it's like, write a book then.
Yeah.
1 million books are written every year, which doesn't, that might seem like a lot, but listen to this, our listeners. There's 7 billion people in this world. 1 million books a year is nothing.
It's nothing.
So think about it. You have more than 10 books in your possession.
Okay.
Even as you're traveling homeless, you probably still have 10.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Right? And so an average person has at least 10. I'm being conservative,
Yeah.
right? And there's 7 billion. Okay, we can't even do the math. I don't even think our calculator could calculate that, right? It's going to do times E because there is no number 7 billion times 10, right?
Totally.
So there is no scarcity.
There is no scarcity. I mean,
There is more than enough to go around. There is an abundant supply of people who are ready for knowledge,
right.
right? And so I encourage all our listeners, if you ever consider writing your book, now's the time.
Totally.
Now's the time. And the adversity that I got was literally, there was so much pushback because I was so vulnerable and allowed to share my stories in such a way that it made other people uncomfortable.
Yeah.
What I've discovered through that path and through that journey is that I'm so comfortable in my own skin that I'm cool if it makes someone else uncomfortable in theirs.
Mm-hmm.
I'm okay with that uncomfortableness.
Totally. There's a gift in that too. When you're being all of you and it lights up other people's stuff, what it's really lighting up is everything that's in the way of them having them. So it's a gift to them, whether they choose to utilize it as a way to make you wrong or utilize it as a way to make them more free is up to them.
Totally. Exactly. And you experienced similar things while you were on you wrote your book in 126 days?
Well, yeah. The story around this is January 21st, my book started flowing through me, and the first thing that I had to do was just make the choice that I was going to write it. And then on January 21st...
And you say it so simply, like it was just a choice, but it really is.
Yeah.
It's that simple.
It is that
Right.
simple. And how many of us have had a book that has wanted to be written through us for years, but we just don't choose it? So one day I just made the demand. I said, I'm choosing it. January 21st, it started coming out of me. And then on February 6th of that same year, or 3 weeks later, I was in a Chipotle, I opened up my computer to write, and the book told me literally, I'm done. And I was like, cool. And then all my stuff came up, like fear of being seen, fear of being judged, fear of it not being good enough, fear of imperfection. So all that stuff came up, and for 3 months, I literally did nothing with the book. And then finally, I'm like, you know what? This book wants to get out into the world. And I had a psychic that I connect with. Her name is Songbird Grandmother. I think
I love her. You introduced me to her.
Yeah.
I love her energy.
And she's such a gift, and she's super intuitive. And
She lives in
Sedona.
Sedona.
Yeah.
Sedona, right?
And she's like, what's up with your book? You know, I'm like, oh, dang it, here we go. And so I ended up hiring a mentor, getting my mind right. And then within about 3 months from that point, my book was launched and published and out to the world. And so without
Congratulations.
thank you
by the
so
way.
much.
I'm so proud of
Thank you. Yeah, it's really exciting. The doors that it opens up, that it can open up, is just amazing. As you know, I booked 2 TV appearances in Texas later this month that I'm going to be traveling for and doing a whole media tour around it. And, you know, my whole thing is like, we have an opportunity to make, with technology and media the way it is now, we have an opportunity to take our message into the world fast. And I've always...
Well, and we live in an instant gratification society.
Mhm.
So it actually feeds the desire of human nature
Yeah.
to have things out and available instantaneously, right?
With social media, with television, I was always thinking, what's the fastest way to get a message out to the world? And for me, it's been TV.
That's awesome.
And so anyway, back to the book. So 3 months after I had that conversation with Songbird, it was published. And so the whole journey was about 126 days without the 3 months that stopped me in the middle.
Right.
So that's where, you know, the name of my program came along.
Right.
Become a published author in 126 days.
Which is fabulous. So I want to go back to it because I want to commend you for hiring a coach, a mentor, right? Because you're like, what is this shit coming up? And let me heal over this. And you worked on it. That takes courage to do that. So I want to commend you for doing that.
Thank you.
Right? I always say, if you want other people to invest in you, you got to invest in yourself first. Totally.
Right. Absolutely.
Right? Like, those people who want to charge $10,000 for workshops, cool. Have you paid $10,000 for a workshop?
Exactly.
Right? I mean, I just feel that way. I mean, it's the natural law of the universe. It's not like, hey, this is my opinion. I just feel like the universe is like that, right? You can't demand something from someone else if you haven't invested in yourself.
Yeah.
Right?
Well put.
Yeah. And so your book is a prime example of how it was a journey. It was the journey along the way.
Yeah.
And then you have this beautiful thing. What I truly believe is when you start writing a book, you're telling the universe you're ready. And then the stuff comes up, this uncomfortableness, like myself, the adversity that came up. It was to remind me, like, are you sure? Are you sure you're ready?
Yeah.
Right? It was like a little test at the end. And obviously I passed with flying colors. But the thing is then everything happens. Because you took the courage to take that leap of faith and do it. I think so many people have books that are written on their MacBooks right now.
Somewhere, yeah.
Yeah, that haven't been completed, right? And are just waiting for that magic moment for someone to say, do it. So guess what? I'm saying do it.
Do that thing, man. Because, like, here's the thing. It'll never be perfect. It reminds me of a story called The Cabinet Maker. So there's a cabinet maker, if you can imagine.
Okay.
And this cabinet maker has this vision to become a builder of mansions and these luxurious palaces. But he doesn't know how. So he first starts by building cabinets. So he masters building cabinets. And then eventually he starts building whole kitchens. And then eventually he starts building living rooms. And eventually over time, he's able to move into building sheds. And then after he starts mastering building sheds, he eventually moves into building houses. And then he masters building houses. And eventually he's able to build the palaces. So that first book, I always say, is like, build your cabinet. It doesn't have to be perfect. Get that one out into the world. And then you'll see that the ones that come after that are going to be so much easier.
100%. I totally agree in that. And the whole thing is I personally believe everything is infinite and everything happens the way it's meant to be. So like whoever's listening to our show today it's already divinely inspired. So the same thing with your book. Whoever is supposed to read that message, the sickest thing about a book is it's forever. Okay, so in 100 years from now, there probably won't be paper. God knows what we'll be reading them on. It'll probably be through these glasses that we put on our face or something. Yeah. God knows, right? But anyways, the books will still be there, no matter how much we evolve, because they've been around since, back in the beginning of time. As soon as mankind evolved enough to write, there's been books and stories written. And that is where, when I went to Brendan Bouchard's event a couple weeks ago, his Speakers Academy, he said, I believe the next 10 years of income will be generated from the best storytellers.
Love it.
Yeah,
Love it.
Which is so amazing. So we're going to talk more about your story when we get back here on What Would Faith Do here on VelocityRadio.fm. Yay!
So my class score is 67, I think.
That's awesome. Yeah. That's awesome, dude. High five.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And then, so 1 in 7,000 people have a book. 7 million divided by a million. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So
exactly. Yeah. Which is nothing.
No, hell no.
Right?
That's assuming there's 1 million people who've written a book out there.
1 million books are written every year.
Oh, every year. Oh, okay.
On Amazon.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Cool. I heard that from my publisher.
Gotcha.
Author 101.
Yeah.
So, so every year, and people think that that's too many books.
Yeah. No. Hell no, man.
Whatever.
Hell no.
People who are supposed to hear it are going to hear it.
It's all, let's talk about that, because it's all vibration. It's all energy. It's like people will be drawn to read the stuff that's in vibrational harmony with what they're ready to hear or where they are in the moment. Or what will get them to the next step in their life. So it's like the people who aren't in vibrational harmony with it, it won't even come into contact with them.
And really what it comes down to is when you're on track of doing what you're meant to do, it all lines up.
Yeah.
The way it's supposed to. Right? Instead of being attached to what it should or shouldn't look like.
Huge to let all that go.
Yep.
I'm so much more free than being a goddamn control freak.
Yeah, and wanting it a certain way. Right?
Yeah.
Because when you let go of what you think it should look like is when the magic can happen. Exactly.
It's surrender, which is such a big part of my journey.
Yeah, which is awesome. And that's what makes it, that's how you can share it now.
Yeah.
It's because you've experienced it.
Yeah.
it's like when you're still in the pain, that's just your pain.
Yeah.
I had a friend tell me she was ready to write her book, and I said, okay, so is this still your pain? She's like, no. And I'm like, okay, is this still your pain? Because it's different. My editor, when she was on last week, we were talking about that, how if it's still your pain and you're trying to write it, it doesn't have the same deliverance that it would when you're on the other side. That's when you can help people.
Yeah.
You can bring them into your pain if you're in your pain.
Totally.
Right? And it's like, and that's okay too. Because maybe some people want to be brought back into pain.
Yeah.
Because, we're all infinite beings, just the way we are.
That's right.
Yeah, it's all about energy for sure. I had a psychic reading that a book was drawn to me, so we can talk about that.
Good.
They're crazy. Because I'm happy.
There's a line dance to this song now.
There is.
Yeah. It's like it's got a certain rhythm and pattern.
Whoop, whoop. Welcome back to What Would Faith Do here on Velocity Radio.fm, because I'm happy with one of my favorite people. Whoop, whoop. George Ira Carroll. Welcome back to What Would Faith Do.
Happy to be here.
It's so awesome. I love it. I love it. So we are just having so much fun talking about the journey, your journey that you had got to experience while you were writing your book.
Yeah.
Which is amazing. And so we're talking how it's energy, right? And how, every book is divinely inspired the way it's meant to be. And people who are drawn to those books will be energetically.
Exactly. Kind of like a radio station. It's like there's country music, there's rap music, there's R&B, there's hip hop, and there's a resonance, there's a frequency to those stations, and they send it out, and people who are energetically aligned with that type of music will tap in. And so I'm fully aware that all 7 billion people on the planet aren't going to read my book, but the ones who are energetically in resonance with it will. And the people who can hear it and are ready to hear it and can help it in their journey will read it.
Absolutely.
Which is so awesome.
That's a beautiful analogy of it. Yeah, because it is. Because energy sometimes is hard to describe. So I love how on a frequency. So that exact thing happened to me one time. A book appeared in my world purely by energy. So I had this intuitive reading from my friend. Her name is Sherry Lynch. She's absolutely gifted. And during the reading, she was telling me about a children's book that I needed to read. It's called My Soul Son from Neil Diamond Welch. Have you
Neil
heard?
Donald Welch?
Yeah. It's a children's book. So she was telling me, hey, you got to get this. It's really cool. The story is pretty much, it's to sum it up, before the soul came to be born, a guardian angel said, I love you so much, I'll come down to this earth to be your pain. It's a beautiful story.
Oh, that's beautiful.
It's an amazing story. So she told me, you need to read this, whatever. My guys are telling me you got to read this. So I said, okay, cool. And then she said the most beautiful thing in the whole world, which kind of ties into finding this book that I found, was called, she literally said, okay, Faith, you are giving out so much love that God is going to reward you in a form of a mate. How sweet is that? So she goes, so keep being the lighthouse you are, and just keep giving unconditional love, because he's going to find you, right? So this image of this lighthouse. So the very next night, I go to this event for an aura cleansing, which was pretty cool and unique. I don't know if you've ever done that, but they clean your aura. Like, I guess people's stuff can get cluttered in your aura. So I'm at this event, and I'm waiting, and there's all these people I don't know. And this gal, I said, hey, what's that table about over there? She goes, oh, it's a giver's table. So you just go up, whatever feels good to you, go ahead and take and then leave some money as an offering. I said, oh, okay, cool. So I go up there, and there is a book with a lighthouse on it, right? So I don't even read the title. I just, this has got to be mine. My energy just healer, or my intuitive reader just told me about a lighthouse. I don't know, I gotta have this book. So I put my money in there, and I go back and I sit in my seat, and I look at the book, And it's written by Neil.
Wow. Yeah.
And I'm like, what? And it's not the children's book. Instead, the book is called Bringers of Light.
Mm.
And I'm like, I take a picture, I send it to her. I'm like, this is insane. I mean, seriously, to talk about energy, right?
Yeah.
So this book is very, very deep. And I open and I'm like, I'm supposed to read this.
Mhm.
Okay, this was Faith. How much bigger did the signs have to get, right? Like literally dropped in your lap. So I pick it up and I read the very first sentence and it says, you are a bringer of light. And of course you already know this. This is how you found your way to this book.
Ooh.
I was like,
Chills.
sick, right? So it's all about energy. Totally. So I totally get that. So that book was drawn to me through an intuitive reader and just listening to the signs. And when it showed up, I received it graciously.
Awesome.
Yeah. So it comes in many, many forms.
It does, doesn't it?
Yeah. I mean, it could be like you click on the wrong page
Mhm.
online, but it was really the right page.
Mhm. Yeah, exactly.
Right, and they stumble across your book, which is so cool. So about energy, so you're going to share this process in an event that you have coming up.
The book or the writing process?
Yeah,
Yes.
that's so exciting.
It is. I'm so pumped. After I published my book, I just got a really massive awareness that there are a lot of people out there who have a powerful story. They have a combination of knowledge and experiences that can add so much value to the world. And when I got that awareness, that's when I created the program, Become a Published Author in 126 Days. And so what people, I think, should be aware of before they write their first book is that you can literally anticipate the demons and the internal enemies that are going to show up along the way. I've been reading a lot of Joseph Campbell lately, and he's the creator of the hero's journey. And there are 12 steps that all heroes go through as they're on the hero's journey. And a book is no different. A book truly is a hero's journey. And so,
Absolutely.
yeah.
It's the journey along the ride instead of the destination.
Yeah, I mean, both, like get excited about the possibilities that your book can open up for you. And also like have the adventure of a lifetime writing your book, like have it all.
Literally.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's what's so cool. I mean, you did an amazing job doing that.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. And being just your authentic self,
Mhm.
And putting yourself out there for everyone to see you
Totally.
as you.
Well, people ask me a lot of times, they say, well, what's your book about? What's your book about? And like, it's hard to sum it up, but because of all the questions, I had this awareness come through. It's about surrendering the life that we were taught to want for the life that we were born to create.
Love it.
Mm-hmm.
Love it.
Boom. That's
And you're doing an amazing job creating it.
Yeah, thank you.
Right? Yeah, you're very welcome. So when is that event? Because I'm sure our listeners are intrigued.
Become a Published Author event.
Yeah.
It starts October 15th. If you want to learn more about it, just go to Become a Published Author in 126days.com.
How easy is that?
Yeah.
You always make it easy.
Yeah, I love ease.
It's awesome. Well, and that's what I truly believe when it comes, after you get through that initial uncomfortableness, then things just literally start rearranging to make it happen.
Mm-hmm, totally.
Right?
Like you choose it and you take action. Once you choose it, that's half the battle. Like
Right.
once you just choose it, that's half the battle. Then the universe is like, okay, this person's serious. Let's get ready to reorganize ourselves around this person's world and invite, the magic and miracles to show up.
Totally. And I believe the second most important thing is to take action. Right?
Essential.
Right? Like start writing your first paragraph.
Yeah.
Like when he wrote that, when Neil wrote that first paragraph, I mean, we're talking about divine intervention,
Mhm.
right? Like it just comes out of him like it was meant to be.
Yeah.
And that's how I truly believe it is. And when you literally just take the time to invest in yourself, other people will follow.
Mm-hmm. Totally. Well put. I mean, and the next thing you mentioned it earlier, when we invest in ourselves, whether it be financially or time-wise, it's like we send a very powerful message to our brain and to the universe that says we're valuable, that we're worth investing in. And as a coach or a change agent or somebody who gets paid for working with people, it's like that's one of the most powerful beliefs that you can have is that who you are and what you offer is valuable and worth receiving money for.
Without a doubt, I truly believe that people are paid in direct proportion of the value they perceive they give.
Love it. Yeah.
So one of my girlfriends, she's absolutely amazing, and she was working at an office and still doing her own practice. I'm like, hey girl, when are you going to do your own? When are you going to take that leap of faith? And literally she finally did. She gave a month notice and now she's just doing her practice fully. And I saw her the other day, she's like, Faith, literally when you walked out of my office, I just started getting these phone calls, and I'm like, that's how it works. You took this huge leap of faith and said, hey, I'm worth it. And when you do that, other people see that.
Totally.
They don't even know why.
Exactly. It's like they stepped into a whole different plane of reality. And that's, at least for me, writing my book. Somebody asked me, said, how does it feel to be a published author? And I thought for a minute, I was like, you know what? It feels like I stepped into a bigger version of me.
That's what you did.
And I did. And that's what will happen for anybody who chooses to finally write that first one. Is like, you're going to step into a bigger version of you where possibilities, magic become more synchronistic.
Without a doubt. I mean, that's a beautiful way to describe it. Myself, how I described it when I wrote my book just about a year ago, I cannot even believe it's been almost a year. I mean, the time has, time warped. Like, seriously. Is my life raised to a higher vibrational level once my book was launched. Like, things just catapulted. Like, in my book, What Would Faith Do, that our listeners can get on Amazon, on page 221, it says, my intention is to manifest $200,000. 2 months later, after my book launch, I did when I bought my new place. It was so amazing that that's how fast it can happen, right? And it was like, and then it, it makes it real. It solidifies all your beliefs. Because even when I was writing my book, I had a friend story that I put in my book, and she was really uncomfortable. She didn't like the way I wrote it, the details, whatever, and so I reached out to a friend of mine, and a friend of mine said, well, that's because she has to take ownership of her really being capable of manifesting. The story happened to be about that. That she has to, once you put it in a book, she has to own that's who she is. And it might make her totally uncomfortable because maybe that's not who she's ready to be.
Yeah.
It was so cool to see that uncomfortableness in other people, that it would, would change. And it was so intriguing to me to see. It was something I had never experienced before.
Awesome.
Which is so cool. So for all those people who are thinking about it, the other coolest thing that I discovered myself is when you get your proof and you get your very first printed copy, seriously, every single cell in my entire body shifted.
Yeah.
Like, you can never go back. Right? Like,
you can try.
You could try. But the thing is like how you said, you stepped into a bigger you. Physically, your body shifts. Yeah. Not just emotionally, spiritually, but even physically, your body shifts.
Indeed.
Which is so magical. And that's where I think all the magic happens, is, when you allow yourself to be vulnerable. Because writing a book is a very vulnerable process.
Totally agree. Yeah. Right before my book launched, I get what I call hater mail all the time from people who are just not happy with what I'm doing, or what I'm saying. Right. And like, initially it got to me because I thought, well, I shouldn't be receiving this stuff. But once I opened up to say, okay, this stuff's probably going to happen, and move into a place of receiving it versus resisting and reacting to it. I got 2 really strong ones before my book launched. One of them was like this woman saying, how dare you, call yourself homeless when you don't know what it means. And like, that one hurt. And it forced me to take a look at what it brought up inside of me. And instead of resisting and reacting and making her wrong for it, I took a day and a half and processed every single piece of pattern that showed up. And after that, I was way more free than I was before. And so I'm super grateful for my haters, because they allow me to see and really take a close look at, okay, is there something I'm not willing to look at here? A couple of days later, this guy took, a really low blow at me. And I wish I could read some of the things that he said on the air here, but I can't. But he was very foul, very hurtful, very angry, and I remember it not having any effect on me because of the previous email. And so when we get to a place where we can just simply allow our haters to be there and like I replied to him, I'm like, listen, man, I got nothing bad to say about you. I hope you find freedom around this. Take good care. And that was it. That's how I responded to him. But when we get to that place, it's like, man, nothing can stop us.
Exactly. And that's exactly, I've gotten to a point in my life that uncomfortableness is just energy. And I truly believe judgment is just energy. And I get to receive it however I choose,
Totally.
right? Because everything's energy. When you say that, people can think in their head, yeah, it's true. But it's only do you allow the negativity to be negativity.
Yeah.
Right? And so I choose to say, wow, look at all that energy people are spending on me.
Yeah.
Right? Because I can totally relate. I have someone mailed my book back to me. Right? I'm not gonna lie, that felt like, I'm like, ugh, that felt a little icky when I received it. And then I was like, wow. I'm like, how cool is that? That something I wrote could have made them so uncomfortable that they actually had to take time to go and send it back to me. Energy to do that. And I was like, wow, because that's when I think, the courage comes in. And when you have the strength to be okay with that, that's when you can really empower people into a different level than you have before when you're totally cool with the uncomfortableness.
Oh God, yeah. And that intensity of being uncomfortable is simply expansion happening in the moment. Like that's all it is. I think we've been sort of conditioned in this reality to value comfort and to keep things the same so we can have a sense of control over our reality and our environment. But the thing that being homeless did for me, it blew away any sense of comfort zone that I had.
Or security.
Security,
Yeah.
familiarity, all of it.
Right.
And now, I'm more free than I own less possessions than I ever have in my life, but I'm more free than I've ever been in my life.
I commend you for doing that. I always admire people who can not be attached to materialistic things.
Yeah, that was huge. It was all about surrender. And I'm doing a book launch party here in Denver, so if you're local, I would love to have you there. It's October 9th from 6 to 9 p.m. at the Holiday Inn in Cherry Creek. But I'm going to share everything that happened along the journey in my 8.5 months of being homeless, like the good, the bad, the ugly, the dirty, the nasty, all of it. And it's super inspiring.
That is so awesome. I'm sure our listeners are so intrigued to hear more about that when we get back here on What Would Faith Do on VelocityRadio.fm.
So that's segment 2?
Yeah.
So we have 2 more segments?
We'll have one, yeah. I think so, because she came in late, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Either way.
Yeah. So, are you cool with a couple more minutes after, if it goes over?
Totally. Yeah.
Awesome. Very exciting. Love it. Yeah, and I think it's just the universe from, saying, are you ready? Well, and think about it. We get so attached to that one negativity, right?
Yeah.
Right? Because there's so much positive.
Good stuff, yeah.
Yeah. But it's not, I truly believe that human nature focuses on what they don't want.
Mm-hmm. For the most part, you're right.
Right? We focus on what we don't want. We don't want haters. But what are you going to attract?
Yeah.
Right? So.
And if we have, here's the thing, it's I noticed if we have secret hater energy inside of us that we're not aware of, and we attract a hater and it triggers us, we got to look at that shit.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it's another hater is going to show up and trigger another hit. But we can get rid of the trigger by looking at it, resolving the issue, whatever's in there.
Yeah.
And that's what happened to me. I realized there was a secret hater inside of me when that woman sent me an email because she wasn't hating at all. She was just simply voicing her point of view, her opinion. But I took it as a hater, and I had to look in, and for a day and a half, man, I really looked and jumped into the core of that.
It's like you want to send her a thank you because it really was a gift to you.
Total gift. Total gift, yeah.
Zach Rader told me one time, he said, Faith, I hope every mentor you have disappoints you. I was like, it's so sick because it just reminds me because you have this perceived motion or perceived perspective that they should do this for you. But maybe it's the uncomfortableness or the disappointment is where the gift is actually going.
It can be, yeah.
If
we choose to look at it, for sure.
Yeah, because I have experienced that myself several times now. And it's cool, huh? Awesome. What gift is in that for me?
Right.
Did we do the cloud score yet? On air?
Yeah.
We did it on air?
Oh, no, we didn't do it yet.
Let's do it on air. Whoop, whoop. Welcome back to What Would Faith Do here on VelocityRadio.fm. Whoop, whoop. I'm here with George Ira Carroll.
Hi, everybody.
Oh my gosh, we are having so much fun.
Yeah,
Awesome. I love your energy.
thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. So the cool thing is you found your cloud score already.
Yeah,
That's how easy it is.
it is. 67 is my cloud score.
Love it.
Apparently I'm above average. It's not a 69. Gotta work my way up, but I'm happy with my cloud score.
You'll probably get to 69 by tomorrow because what happens is when you log in, it automatically will start going up.
Oh, sweet.
Yeah.
I'm gonna log in again right now.
Yeah. So my friend Angela says, don't be attached to the number, but it just gives you something to play with. And it really, in this realm that you're going in, it's going to get you even further. Because
Totally.
people will actually check your cloud score.
Cool. Speaking of not being attached to things,
Yeah.
that's one of the greatest gifts we can give ourselves, is to not let anything outside of us define who we are, whether that's money, a relationship, a business, whatever it is. If nothing outside of you defines you, you're free.
Without a doubt. Exactly. And you were able to get to that point because of that uncomfortableness of the email that she sent you about being homeless. You processed it and healed from it and, went through these demons that you had inside to get to the level of not being attached to what other people might say.
Right. Yeah.
Right? And that's what's so amazing. I mean, that's one thing that I do in my life is truly live it without being attached to the outcome. And sometimes people have a hard time realizing how I describe that, how that's possible.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right?
Totally.
You can totally set intentions, and believe me, I'm all about intentions. Like, this is going to be bigger than I can imagine, right? But that's not saying, this better turn out good, I better make this much money, this person better like me, whatever, right? Because those things are expectations.
And expectation is a poison that will kill our joy in life.
Totally.
Yeah, I mean, because the thing is, when we have an expectation that something has to turn out a certain way, if it turns out that way, you get to be happy and you get to feel good about what happened. But the chances of it turning out exactly like that are slim to none, and that expectation creates disappointment. And disappointment is no fun.
Well, and the other thing is that how I like to describe it is that it limits you.
Totally.
Right? If you have an expectation, it can only be that.
Exactly.
That's it.
Yeah.
Right? But if you open up the space for something bigger or better, it can be bigger and better.
It can.
Right? And it's just so fun to live in that. And sometimes when people are in my world and they see how I react to things, they're like, how is she doing that? I'm like, remember when I told you I'm not attached?
Yeah.
I'm truly not attached to this working out or not working out.
Yeah.
Ultimately, it's going to have the same results. But we get to choose how we show up.
Exactly. Yeah. We're so amazing and we're so brilliant and we're so infinitely creative, but we're born into a world of limitations. And unfortunately, a lot of us are born into families of limitation or environments of limitation. We're not born with the manual that says, welcome to the world. You're absolutely amazing. You can create anything you want. Here are some guidelines and some tools. Have fun out there.
Right. Here's the natural laws of the universe. Right? It wasn't like that. And the cool thing is we came into this world knowing we're infinite beings, but all of that other stuff that happened, knocked us off track, but actually put us on track of what those experiences helps us become who we're meant to be.
Totally. Yeah. I mean, all the pain and all the wounds that we experience kind of set us up for a greater possible future, gave us skills or tools or awarenesses that we didn't have before. And like you say it all the time, like everything is in divine order, but the minute we see that we make something wrong or we make where we are wrong, we will perpetuate the wrongness. But when we just trust that, listen, no matter where you are, this is where you are, and it's a perfect launching point to create something greater.
Without a doubt. Yeah, and that's exactly it. I have a client of mine is having a very difficult time. And someone said to me, I'm like, well, she's crazy. And I said, well, actually, she's an infinite being. Right? And she's like shifted her entire perspective on how she was judging this client.
Wow.
Because we're not in her shoes. We haven't lived her life. And she's doing the best she can. Just like we're doing the best we can. And it's like, you got to give everyone that same credit, not just the people who are doing good.
Right, exactly.
Yeah. And the whole thing is when you really see people as that, a friend of mine said, hey, I asked myself, what lesson did I learn from this? What do I need to learn from this? And I really went just expansive and said, well, you're an infinite being. There is nothing you need to learn. You have all the answers inside you already. And so often people think that they need to change who they are as a result of an experience.
And just it's really about just stop being who you're not.
Exactly.
It's like that, one of my favorite metaphors of all time is a metaphor about Michelangelo. So Michelangelo created that beautiful statue, David. When he was finished, people asked him, they said, how did you create such a beautiful statue? And he said, well, it's simple. I just chipped away at what wasn't David.
Exactly.
And it's like we all have our own internal David that's infinite. And it's really, life is about just chipping away at what's not that, so we can allow us to shine.
Totally. We were talking about it earlier on break, how I believe it's human nature to focus on what we don't want. It's just some kind of...
Is it human nature, or is it what we're conditioned to do in this reality?
It's hard to tell, because it's like children will do it, you know? They will do it straight from the gate. Like, I don't want to go to school, I don't want to do this, I don't want to go to bed, right? Instead of like, I want to stay up later. So it's almost like they, straight from the gate, we just think of what we don't want, but it's like if you just shift that energy to what you really want,
so much can change.
So much can change, and it's just vocabulary. It's just choosing it in a positive form.
Yeah.
And that's where the magic can happen.
Yeah.
Is when you take ownership of what you're thinking of, because so many people don't realize that they're focusing on what they don't want.
Exactly, and there's an infinite amount of ways we can choose to look at something. And, I learned this from Tony Robbins really early on in my career. He said, choose an empowering meaning over a disempowering meaning. We are meaning-making machines. And we can literally choose the meaning of any experience. And we got to find the frame or the perspective that helps us feel empowered versus disempowered.
Totally. And the other thing is that we can change at any time. At any time.
Right now.
Right?
Wherever you are. I mean, if you're listening to us right now and you got some gunk going on in your life, you can change the frame. You can change the channel on the TV.
The frequency, like you talked about, all you have to do is push a different channel.
Change that thing.
Right? And that's how fast it is. It's so cool. And to give us permission to do that, right? So I've been finding myself very irritated lately, and I'm like, how cool is that? I'm giving myself permission to be irritated.
Yeah, cool.
Right? It's really cool for me, because this is something that I would normally not do.
Yeah.
In the past, I would be like, okay, so why are you aggravated? Why is this bothering you? Why are you acting like this? Yeah. Well, who cares about the why?
Yeah.
How about just let yourself be angry?
Yeah, totally.
Let yourself be irritated.
Yeah. And I think that's a big expectation that we have in our life, is we have to be positive and happy all the time. That's another expectation that can stick us. If there's something that wants to move through us that's intense and angry, it's like, why not go put some workout clothes on and have an intense workout, or just express the anger the way that it wants to be expressed, versus trying to push it away like it's not there.
Exactly.
So good on you for choosing it.
Yeah, thank you.
You're welcome.
And to be allowing, and it's also, in that same role as not being attached to the outcome. So if I was attached to what being irritated looked like, then it probably couldn't be present at the moment.
Yeah.
Right? Because I would have an end result of what I think it should or shouldn't look like. So it's fun to dabble in that.
Totally.
Which is awesome. So besides your book, your book launch, tell us again when your book launch is.
Oh, the book launch party is October 9th. It's at the Holiday Inn in Cherry Creek off of Colorado Boulevard, across the street from Shotgun Willie's, if you know where that is.
Woo-hoo.
And it's from 6 p.m. to 9 p.m. So it's going to be a mixture of just celebration. There's going to be a cash bar there, so you'll have some adult beverages.
That are optional.
Optional adult beverages. Your kids are still welcomed. We're going to have a little dance floor there. And in the middle of it, I've actually created a presentation called A Hero's Journey. And I'm going to be sharing everything that happened on my homeless journey, even the stuff that I haven't shared publicly yet.
I love it.
Yeah, so it's going to be, I can already feel it. It's going to be a super emotional night for me. My brother is going to be there. He's been a huge gift in my life. People that I just love and adore.
What a blessing.
Yeah, I haven't seen in a while. So the combination of people showing up, I feel the tears coming up right now.
It's amazing. I can sense it. The cool thing is that one thing I admire about you is that you allow yourself to be very vulnerable. You just say things out of total context that people would be like, did he seriously just say that? Yes, he did.
Yeah, it's a form of evolved Tourette's.
I love it. I love it.
Vulnerable Tourette's. Yeah, for me, life is about freedom. And I'm always looking at ways that I'm not allowing myself to be free. And to have secrets, or to have monsters in the psychological closet, or have things hidden, to me, that I become the prisoner to that. So vulnerability simply allows me to say, listen, All my closet doors are open. I've got nothing to hide, and I get to be free in that and invite other people to be free as well.
Which is so beautiful, and you do an incredible job at that. The one thing I love about vulnerability is how I describe it is I allow myself to be vulnerable to experience more love than I've ever experienced in my life. Mm-hmm. The other thing that comes up is you can experience anger. I've been irritated, right? You can experience being irritated on a higher level. When you truly, truly allow yourself to be vulnerable, it's not just love, it's all emotions that you experience on a heightened level.
Yeah.
And it's really intense, but it's so worth it.
Yeah, and kids know, like coming into the world, we know that. And kids have no issue with yelling and screaming in the library if they feel like their body wants to yell and scream.
Or throw themselves on the floor,
totally.
Kicking and screaming. I mean, my niece gave herself 5 concussions when she was a little girl.
Give that girl a helmet.
Right? She would get so mad she threw herself on concrete, right? And it's like, why can't we just let it all go like that? Wouldn't it be funny? It would be cool if you just saw an adult throwing themselves around like that. Because everyone, think about the judgment. Yeah. Everyone would be like, that is insane, right? Man, would they feel better.
Totally, yeah.
Maybe there would be less road rage, less violence.
Totally.
You know, it's just so true that it is children naturally, they get really, really excited and yell and scream on a very, large level. And then when they're sad, they just think they're supposed to share it and experience it.
Yeah, they let it go. They don't try to hold on to it. We learn growing up that, don't cry or I'll give you something to cry about. We learn that crying is a weakness. We learn that emoting is not a good thing. And so what happens is that we simply start holding stuff in, and over time that stuff can create illness in our bodies. So coming back to vulnerability, I think for me is the true state of freedom.
Absolutely. And you are a beautiful example of that.
Thank you.
Yeah. I love that you describe it as freedom, because it is.
Yeah.
Love it.
So it's like when we're judging, the person that's in jail is us. We think that we're judging other people, that making them wrong, we get to be superior or whatever. But when we're judging or when we're making others wrong or making ourselves wrong, it's like we're the ones that are in prison. And just loving and just being with people freely without judgment, just being space is such a gift for them and us.
Absolutely. And you're an amazing gift at doing that.
Thank you.
Yeah. Stay tuned. We'll be right back here on What Would They Do here on VelocityRadio.fm.
I wasn't sure what was happening.
No, it was brilliant. You were brilliant. Yeah, because I was trying to make sure we had one more segment.
Oh,
I didn't want to say, hey, stay tuned, and then,
Yeah. See you. Sorry.
Yeah. Because people will be waiting and be like, when is she coming back?
Yeah.
Yeah. Very cool. So anything else you want to make sure we touch on?
No, we pretty much touched on everything. Maybe if it fits, and I'll let you decide, but the things that people are going to get inside of the mastermind.
Cool.
If that fits, and if it doesn't, that's cool too.
That's awesome.
Yeah. But other than that, no.
And is that you guys meet or in person or online?
No, it's all virtual.
Virtual. Yeah. So you'll do a webinar kind of thing?
Webinar, or depending if it's visual and I need to show them visual stuff, it will be webinar. Otherwise, it'll be telecalls. And they'll also be grouped into groups of 4 people, so they have more intimate mastermind meetings with themselves. And then they'll have an accountability buddy so that they can read each other's work and just have that support along the way. So there are multiple levels of accountability, awesome. Which is the biggest reason. I've been doing a lot of research on, maybe this is something I share, on groups and accountability. When we have group accountability, we're far more likely to finish a project than we are if we're not in a group. Which is so
funny, because you're accountable to someone else more than you are to yourself.
It's interesting, yeah.
Whoop whoop. Welcome back to What Would They Do here on VelocityRadio.fm. This is your host, Faith Young, and I'm here with Ira Carroll.
Hello, hello.
Which is so fun. And we were talking about your upcoming event and some research that you did to create this, your next workshop.
Yeah, I remember Tony Robbins saying this a long time ago. He says, in many cases, we will do more for other people than we will do for ourselves. And so I was doing a lot of research on group accountability, and we are way more likely, way over 50% more likely to finish a project if there's group accountability. And so with the Become a Published Author in 126 Days Mastermind that's coming up October 15th, I've ensured that there are multiple layers of accountability in place. So there's the overall mastermind, which will be about 50 people from all around the world. And then everybody's going to be grouped into groups of 4 people, potentially 6, depending on the size of the group. And then the third layer of accountability is going to be one-on-one accountability buddy, where you get to read each other's work and give each other suggestions and just kind of root each other on and empower each other along the way. And so not only that, but I'm also inviting a team of experts. So my friend Clint Arthur, who's a media trainer, teaches people how to get on TV using their book. So he's going to be a trainer and an expert that's a part of our group.
That is so powerful.
Yeah.
I love that accountability because it's so true. I mean, it's amazing, but like when you have accountability partner and you got to call them and tell them what you did, it hurts a lot more when you tell them you have nothing than when you wake up every morning and you're like, I'll do it tomorrow. The pain, there's like a different sense of pain when you're disappointing someone else.
Totally.
It's so amazing.
And like the group accountability thing is so big because there are a lot of people out there who's like, I know I got a book in me, and people have probably told you, you should write a book. But when we're writing alone, it becomes way harder. But when we surround ourselves with people who are excited about the process, who are running in the same direction as you are, it's like there's way more energy to create than there is when you're by yourself.
Totally. And the thing that I love is that you're doing this immediately after writing your book because the energy is pumped up. I mean, you launched it on Amazon a month ago. Which is, oh my gosh, and you got it to like the top 45?
Yeah, top 45 in a really tough category.
Well, regardless, it's impressive. It's totally impressive. And then you're having your book launch, your official one, this month, and then you're doing your event on October 15th. Write your book event, right?
Yeah, and it's all about, and you get this, Faith, like we all have a message. I tell people this all the time, but the combination of knowledge, experiences, awareness, and wisdom that we have doesn't exist on the planet. Like, I'm going to say that again. The combination of knowledge, experiences, wisdom, and awareness that you have as a unique individual doesn't exist on the planet, only inside of you. And there's a message, there's a brilliance in that I think a book can really be a beautiful expression of. And so there's just a lot of energy in inviting people to step out and step up and share their brilliance with the world.
Absolutely. And you are doing an incredible job doing that.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Like the magic has already started.
Yeah,
it's just going to continue and continue. And I love that you want to empower other people to do the same thing.
There's no feeling like it. I mean, as a published author,
without a doubt.
There's the feeling is absolutely incredible to feel your expression of you onto a physical book, and then the next level is seeing it go out into the world and people being impacted by it. People have been sending Facebook selfies with my book, and every time
so
I see
cute.
one,
I've seen it. It's so adorable when you do that.
I just drop into tears every time I see one. And my nephew even sent me one, and I'm like, oh man, this is so cool.
It's life-changing.
Yeah.
I mean, it's hard to put it in words until you have your own book to realize the feeling when that happens.
Yeah.
I mean, so it's like no matter what uncomfortableness, all that energy, because that's all part of the path too, right? But it's just such a small part.
Yeah.
When I wrote my book, immediately after my book launch, I think about 45 days later, I had a friend that messaged me and said, I too had this happen to me. I too was born the same year you were. I too had this same struggle. I too just went through a divorce 5 years ago. Things like that. And then she said, and as little as 1 week ago, Faith, I was contemplating suicide.
Wow.
And one paragraph in your book changed everything.
Wow.
That is priceless.
Yeah.
Even if I never share my message with anyone for the rest of my entire life, that's worth it.
Mm-hmm.
The cool thing, it encourages me to continue because what I do know is there's a need.
Mm.
And she was seeking the gifts and I was just the portal to provide them.
Mm. Beautiful.
Yeah. So for all those people who are thinking about writing a book, how can our listeners get a hold of you personally, George?
Let me see. You can find me on Facebook. You can go to my website, which is George Ira Carroll, CARROLL.com, or you can go to become a published author in 126days.com. And it's a powerful time to be alive. It is a super powerful time to be alive. Like all the lies are being unearthed And everything that we're holding on to that's a limitation is being brought to the surface for resolution.
Oh, you're experiencing that too?
Oh God, yeah. That's where,
Me too. Me too. I'm like, wow, this uncomfortableness is coming up often.
yeah, and it's happening for a lot of us because we're stepping into the truth of oneness and the truth that we're all in this together. And if we're going to create a greater world, we got to do it together. We can't separate anymore. Separation is going away.
With that, totally. We were meant to be connected. I mean, we are all energetically connected. It's like, just embrace what was meant to be.
Totally. You know, one of my favorite metaphors about like working together in the Amazon rainforest, there's the Amazon fire ants. When it starts to rain and the levels of water start to rise, they literally come together and they grab onto each other and they create a raft of oneness, if you will. And
so powerful.
And the ants that don't make it to the raft end up dying. But the ones who hold on to each other until the water levels subside again go back to living their life.
Wow.
Yeah, isn't that powerful?
It's so amazing. I actually saw a video of something like that with the ants. They created this this little raft that you carried each other over on. It was insane. There was a on Facebook post about it, and it was so insane to actually see it. So I totally get what you're saying, and it's like we were all meant to be like that, right? So it's like, let's get together, let's support each other, and encourage them to be that free, vulnerable self we were all meant to be.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, let's do it together because we're definitely not going to be able to do it individually.
I truly believe one way to teach anybody anything is to be the authentic example.
Mm-hmm.
And you're doing an amazing job of that.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Can't wait for your book launch. That's going to be awesome.
Yeah, lots of tears going to be strolling down lots of faces that evening, I think. But yeah, I'm really pumped too.
Yeah, and I love that you're going to have dancing.
Yes, totally. I love having fun. Like joy, along my homeless journey, I made a demand and I said, nothing is going to be more important than my joy. Like I'm choosing joy over everything.
How powerful is that?
It's made such a huge difference. And like life takes care of itself. I've noticed for me, when I just choose joy, everything around me just seems to take care of itself.
Because that's what we were meant to be. We were meant to love and enjoy this life. And when you do that, it's like, oh, how fun was that?
Magic and miracles live in joy.
Absolutely. And it's like, let's attract more of that, right? And it's like, and everything is part of a journey that we get to experience and love and be a part of.
Yeah, and your journey, like if you're listening to this, your journey is unlike anybody who has ever come into this world and onto this planet. And that's worth writing about.
You're 100% right. And I love that you put it in that perspective, that your wisdom, our experience, all of that massed together in one person is unique.
Yeah.
There's no one who's had the same experience. Mm-hmm. There's no one who has the same knowledge as each individual.
Yeah.
Right. But there are bits and pieces that everyone can relate to.
Mm-hmm.
The people who need to hear the message are waiting, just craving it. Like myself, when that book was just literally divinely inspired, brought to me like a lighthouse, right? Like a light putting out there, waiting for me to find it, is exactly how I feel that everything is shifted right now. And I think people they don't know what it is, but it's cool. You don't have to know what it is, and you don't have to know how it works.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Just embrace it.
Embrace it, surrender, let go of control, and allow the magic that's with us in every moment just to be present.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for being here today.
My pleasure.
You're amazing.
Thank you.
You're amazing. And we can connect with you on Facebook as well.
Yes.
Awesome. Ira Carroll. George Carroll.
George Carroll.
George Carroll, yeah. I'll post your fan page, because your event.
Yes.
On my page, so all our listeners can join.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you.
So proud of you.
Thank you.
Thank you for being here.
You're welcome.
Whoop, whoop. Have a magical weekend. Thanks for listening. What would Faith do here on VelocityRadio.fm? Whoop, whoop. Yay!
Great show.
Awesome. Thank you for being here.
My pleasure.
That was very sweet.
I don't know if you have a copy of my book yet, but I have one for you.
Yay!
I want to sign it.
I get an autographed copy.
Of course you do.
Thank you.
You have a pen?
I have a Sharpie.
Okay.
I carry a Sharpie with me 24 hours a day.
That's awesome.
For this exact reason. Just usually happens to be my own book I'm signing, but I get to sign mine. Yes, I have that right here.
Thank you.
Yeah. Yay. the eye of the tiger. Thanks for listening.